She was a North Korean diplomat's wife living on the 28th floor of a Pyongyang high-rise with hot water, an elevator, and special food rations, and she still wasn't free. Kim Jong-hee spent 20 years as a senior interpreter for North Korea's Foreign Affairs Bureau, traveling to Moscow and Beijing, believing her country was paradise. Then one trip cracked everything open. Today, she shares the story of how an entire family of 4 risked execution to escape, and what it truly costs to live without freedom. Join us in standing up for human rights. Subscribe to hear more stories of courage and freedom. It all started like this. Early 2020, Changwon Street, Jung District, Pyongyang. Our family lived on the 28th floor of an apartment building, overlooking the Taedong River. By North Korean standards, it was the finest address you could have. We had an elevator. We had hot water. My husband was a diplomat with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I was an interpreter for the Foreign Affairs Bureau. In North Korea, people called us the elite. Every morning I'd watch the Taedong River from the window with a cup of coffee. What I didn't understand then, what I couldn't have understood, was how rare that quiet moment really was. I was born in the North after the division that followed the Korean War. I graduated from Pyongyang University of Foreign Studies with a degree in English and was assigned to the Foreign Affairs Bureau at 23. Back then, my dream was simple: serve the country. That's all I'd ever been taught. At school, at home, everywhere the same message, always. We were told we lived well because of the grace of Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il, and Kim Jong-un. I never doubted it. The thought didn't even cross my mind. Being a foreign affairs interpreter was one of the most coveted positions in North Korea. It meant overseas travel: China, Russia, even Europe. Ordinary citizens couldn't even visit Pyongyang. I was crossing borders. And every time I came back, the feeling was the same: our country is the best. The outside world was dangerous. Capitalism was rotten. We alone were living in paradise. Maybe I just wanted to believe that. I met my husband at the Foreign Affairs Bureau. He was a diplomat with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We married at 30 and had a daughter and a son. We lived in central Pyongyang. Our food rations came on time. Electricity ran for 18 hours a day. Do you understand what a privilege that was? Ordinary citizens barely received rice. Their power came on for 2 or 3 hours, if they were lucky. At the markets, prices were staggering. 1 kilogram of rice cost 5,000 won. Pork was over 10,000 North Korean won. The average worker's monthly wage was around 3,000, not enough to buy a single kilogram of rice. But we were different. We received special rations. On holidays, meat, sugar. We assumed that was simply normal. Our daughter attended Pyongyang First Middle School, one of the top schools in the country. Our son went there too. Both spoke English well. I taught them myself. You'll be diplomats someday, I used to tell them. I genuinely believed that was the best life anyone could hope for. In the evenings, we'd gather for dinner. Kimchi, doenjang soup, rice, sometimes meat. Looking at my husband's face, my children's faces, I thought, we are happy. The television always showed Korean Central Broadcasting. American bastards threaten us. South Korean puppets are jealous of us. I nodded along without a single question. On weekends, we visited my parents' graves on a hillside outside Pyongyang. My father passed away early. My mother left us when I was 35. Standing before her grave, I'd say, "Mom, I'm doing well. The grandchildren are growing up healthy." I meant every word. When COVID-19 shook the world in 2020, North Korea sealed its borders completely. Goods from China stopped coming. Overseas travel was suspended. Market prices climbed. The price of rice doubled. We were fine. Our special rations continued. The thought flickered through my mind: how are ordinary people surviving? But I didn't let myself think too deeply about it. The year our daughter turned 21, she enrolled at Pyongyang University of Foreign Studies, my alma mater. "I want to be an interpreter just like you, Mom." Watching her say that, I was proud. Our son had just graduated high school and was about to enlist. In North Korea, every man serves 10 years from 18 to 28. That was when the first crack appeared. One evening, my husband came home from an overseas trip. "Honey," he said quietly, "the outside world. It's much more different than I thought." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean? We have the best life." I said it, but his eyes were uncertain in a way I'd never seen before. That night I couldn't sleep. The Taedong River was calm outside the window. My mind was not. For the first time I let myself ask, are we really the best? Are we really happy? That was the beginning. The moment everything started to give way. 20 years of belief. built brick by brick inside the Foreign Affairs Bureau, the comfort of living in Pyongyang's finest building. It was all starting to shift, but I didn't know then what I know. Now that this small question would upend our entire family, that it would lead us to an escape where death was a real possibility. I pushed the feeling aside and got ready for work the next morning, telling myself everything would stay the same. In the fall of 2021, there was a trip that changed my life. As the borders cracked open after COVID, diplomatic travel slowly resumed. I was sent to Moscow for a North Korea-Russia economic cooperation conference, my first overseas assignment in 3 years. How do I describe stepping off the plane at Moscow's airport? People were laughing, freely, talking loudly, staring at their phones. There was airport Wi-Fi. Anyone could use the internet. In North Korea, that was unimaginable. Our phones didn't have internet access. Only a handful of approved individuals could use it, and only within strict limits. Back in the hotel room, I turned on the television. Dozens of channels, news, films, dramas, music. A world of choices. In North Korea, there was only Korean Central Broadcasting. That night, I watched CNN. World News. A segment about North Korea came on. The headline read, "North Korean citizens suffering from famine." My chest tightened. A lie, I told myself. Western media distortion, that's what we'd been taught. But the footage on screen, hollow-cheeked children, people foraging for grass in the markets. I had seen those scenes myself, outside Pyongyang. This is real, I thought. It was the first time I let myself think it. When the conference ended and we had free time, a Russian colleague took me around the city. I walked Moscow's streets and watched young people drinking coffee in cafes. Without a care, people buying whatever book they wanted from a shop. Teenagers dancing to music in an open square. They were my daughter's age. They're free. The thought wouldn't leave me. What could my daughter do with her life? Graduate. Get assigned wherever the state decided. Seek party approval to marry. Hand her children to a state daycare and report to work. No choices. I had always accepted that as the natural order of things. But watching these young people, tears came without warning. I called my husband from the hotel. International calls were monitored, so I was careful. How's everyone? Daughter's doing well at the university. Son is healthy. A normal exchange. But my voice was shaking. I miss you all. Did he hear what I meant? After a week, I returned to Pyongyang. The moment I stepped off the plane at Sunan Airport, something had changed. Gray sky, dark streets, blank faces. A week earlier, all of this had been ordinary. Now it felt foreign. Why am I thinking this way? I scolded myself. These were dangerous thoughts. At home, my daughter ran to meet me. "Mom, how was the trip?" Her face bright, 22 years old, full of life. "It was fine," I said. A lie. I couldn't tell her what I'd seen in Moscow. Then she asked, "Mom, do you think I'll ever get to travel abroad someday?" Of course. You're going to be an interpreter. But underneath, I was asking myself, can you ever be free like those young people in Moscow? Can you ever choose the life you want? There was no answer. In North Korea, I already knew it was impossible. That night, after the children were asleep, my husband and I sat across from each other. "Honey, are we really okay living like this?" I was the one who said it first. He looked up. "I've been thinking the same thing. When I was in Beijing, too, we held each other's gaze. No words needed. We both felt it. Thinking about the kid's future." His voice broke. "Our daughter is 22. Our son is about to enlist 10 years in the army. He'll be 28 when he gets out. His entire youth gone." "Isn't that just how it is?" I asked. But I already knew the answer. No, it isn't. After that conversation, something had shifted between us. Watching the news, waking up in the morning. A persistent unease had moved in and wouldn't leave. We had been cut off from something. From truth. But we weren't ready to act. Defection wasn't even a word we let ourselves use. We just carried the discomfort day after day. Early 2022, my daughter came home from a lecture at the university. "Mom, we studied Kim Il-sung's anti-Japanese resistance today. He was truly great, wasn't he?" I couldn't respond. A CNN documentary I'd seen in that Moscow hotel room came rushing. Back one that claimed most of Kim Il-sung's anti-Japanese record had been fabricated. I couldn't tell her that. The helplessness of that silence was the worst pain I'd felt yet. Is this how we're supposed to live? Raising our children inside a lie? That question kept me awake night after night. Even in our 28th floor apartment, even with our special rations, I was not happy. The crack was widening. In the summer of 2022, word spread through Pyongyang. A colleague at the Foreign Affairs Bureau had disappeared. Mr. Park. We'd worked together for 15 years. One day, he simply didn't come in. His desk sat empty. No one said his name. A few days later, I found out. During an overseas trip, he'd made a comment about longing for capitalism. Someone had reported him. He'd been sent to a political prison camp. His entire family, his wife, his 2 daughters, they were gone overnight. Mom, Sujin isn't coming to school. She's not answering her phone. My daughter's worried face. What could I tell her? She must have moved. A lie. Sujin was now in a place. She might never leave because of something her father said. Watching my daughter's face, I felt something break inside me. After that, the entire Foreign Affairs Bureau was subjected to ideological screening. 2 mandatory self-criticism sessions a week. Everyone watching everyone else. Did you uphold revolutionary discipline during your overseas assignment? Did you avoid being corrupted by foreign culture? The room thick with tension every time. When my turn came, the security official looked at me directly. Comrade Kim Jong-hee, what were your thoughts during your Moscow assignment? My heart was pounding. I was reminded once again that our homeland is the greatest. The lie left my mouth easily. It had to. Really? You stood in a capitalist city and felt no wavering? I was sweating. Their lives are flashy on the surface, but rotten underneath. The words sickened me, but I couldn't stop. My family needed me to survive this. Very well. But we'll be watching. Cold eyes. I had become a target. On the walk home, my legs could barely hold me. In the elevator mirror, I barely recognized the woman looking back. Foreign affairs interpreter. Pyongyang elite. Too terrified to say a single true thing. Who am I? No answer came. That autumn, another blow. Our son turned 19 and received his military draft notice. 10 years of service. He'd be 29 when it was over. His whole youth gone. He smiled when he told us he'd go. That smile destroyed me. I knew what waited: the hunger, the beatings, the exhaustion. Late one night, my husband and I talked again. Do we really have to send him? What choice do we have? If we don't, our whole family is done. His voice trembled. So we wait. Our daughter gets assigned wherever the state decides. Our son comes back at 29. By then, we'll be past 60. He exhaled slowly. At least during the Korean War, people had a choice: go south or stay north. We don't even have that. He was right. We'd been born without options. We were living without them. Around that time, food shortages hit Pyongyang. The Chinese border had been closed so long that supply chains had collapsed. Even our special rations were cut. Once a month became once every 2 months. Market prices went wild. 1 kilogram of rice crossed 10,000 won. Corn was 7,000. I couldn't imagine how ordinary families were eating. A friend who worked at a hospital told me quietly, people are starving to death, especially in the provinces. A cold shock. In the 21st century, there's no medicine either. You need a bribe just to get an IV drip. We'd been taught healthcare was free in North Korea. That was a lie too. No money meant you died. Winter came. Power outages stretched longer. 18 hours became 12, then 8, then 4. In central Pyongyang, coal rations vanished. We had to scavenge for wood, hands cracking in the cold. Is this right? Is this what living is supposed to be? My daughter came home from university shivering. Mom, the lecture hall is so cold. The professor teaches in a down jacket. No heat. At Pyongyang's top university, I held her frozen hands and wept. I'm sorry. Mom is so sorry. She didn't understand why. I did. I was sorry for bringing her into this world. That night, my husband said it plainly, let's go. What? Let's leave. This place. His eyes had changed. Where? I asked. Somewhere our children can choose. My heart was racing, afraid. And for the first time in years, something like hope. But what about the family we'd leave behind? His parents were here. My brother's family, they'd want this for their grandchildren, for the kids to be free. We made the decision that night. No plan yet, just the decision, at the cost of everything. In the spring of 2023, the opening came. My husband received orders from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs 3 weeks in Vladivostok, Russia, for a North Korea-Russia Economic Cooperation Summit. Diplomatic families were permitted to accompany, a rare privilege. We decided to use it. Convincing the children was the hardest part. One night, the 4 of us sat together. We have something to tell you, my husband began. Our daughter and son watched us carefully. We're going to South Korea. A short silence. What are you saying? Our daughter asked, startled. We're defecting. Using this trip. Our son's face went white. Isn't that a betrayal, abandoning our country? 20 years of conditioning coming out of our children's mouths. My husband and I had prepared for this. I told them everything I'd seen in Moscow, what CNN showed, what the real world looked like. What we were taught was a lie. Kim Il-sung's resistance record, that we lived the best lives. All of it lies. Our daughter started crying. Then what was everything I learned? My professors, my textbooks all lies? I'm sorry. Your father and I only understood recently. I held her, but now we know. Let's go somewhere you can live freely. Our son asked the question that cut deepest. What about the grandparents? What about our uncle's family? They have to stay. My husband's voice cracked. If we go, they'll be interrogated. We know. But your futures matter more. Your grandparents would want you to live free. For days, the children wrestled with it. Our daughter cried every night. Our son sat in silence, staring out the window. I understood. 2 decades of belief were collapsing. But we had 2 months before the trip. In the end, they agreed. Mom, I want to live somewhere I can make my own choices. That was our daughter. Dad, I'll go. Anything's better than 10 years in the army. Our son nodded. That night, the 4 of us held each other, all crying. We prepared carefully. We converted our savings into $3,000, a lifetime's worth, through black market exchanges at the market. We packed a few family photos, parents' childhood pictures, nothing more. We couldn't risk suspicion. The hardest thing was visiting the graves. A week before departure, I went alone. I knelt before my mother's grave and let myself break. Mom, I'm sorry. I know I'm being an unfilial child. I'm leaving. I may never come back. The wind moved through the grass. It felt like she was crying. But I have to protect the grandchildren. I want them to live freely. You understand, don't you? I stood eventually and walked down the hill without looking back. If I looked back, I couldn't have left. Tears didn't stop until I reached the bottom. My husband said his final goodbye to his older brother without letting on. Take care of yourself on the trip. You too, little brother. His brother had no idea it was the last time. My husband wept alone in the car afterward. Our daughter couldn't say goodbye to her friends. She wanted to send just one message to Sujin: take care of yourself, but we couldn't risk it. If someone reports us, we're finished. I wiped her tears and cried alongside her. 20 years of friendship ended without a word. The night before we left, I stood at the window watching Pyongyang, the Taedong River, the glow of the Yusha Tower. Goodbye, Pyongyang. Goodbye, home. I said it silently. I may never come back, but I have no regrets. The children's future is worth more. None of us slept that night, frightened and restless at the same time. Come morning, we'd be fugitives. Caught meant death, all 4 of us. Mom, I'm scared. My daughter came to my room in the dark. Me too. But we're together. That's enough. I held her close and made a silent promise. We will make it. I will get these children somewhere free. The alarm went off at 5 in the morning. In the car to the airport, I took one last look at Pyongyang streets, the city where I was born, where I grew up. Now it was a prison. Goodbye. And I'm sorry. I said it to everyone I was leaving behind. We were choosing to save ourselves. The plane lifted off. Pyongyang shrank below us. My husband gripped my hand. No going back now. I know. Only forward. I held on just as tightly. 4 lives staked on a single journey into the unknown. May 15, 2023. We landed at Vladivostok Airport at 3 p.m. Russian officials met the North Korean diplomatic delegation at the gate. Welcome. I interpreted, hands trembling beneath the surface. We had 48 hours to move. 2 state security agents were on our floor at the hotel, watching. Comrade Kim Jong-hee, be prepared for tomorrow's conference. Yes, of course. I smiled. Inside, I was burning. How do we get out? That first night, my husband and I worked out every detail. The children were in the next room. After the morning session, there's free time in the afternoon. That's our window. You confirmed the South Korean consulate's location. 15 minutes by taxi. He marked it on the hotel map. The agents were the problem. How do we lose them? End of lunch, you excuse yourself for the bathroom and slip out. I'll tell them I'm organizing documents and head to the lobby. The kids say they're going for a walk. If even one of them notices, which is why we move fast, one shot. I didn't sleep. Clock at 2 a.m., then 3, then 4. 20 years as an interpreter. Life as a Pyongyang elite. All of it about to be abandoned. If they catch us, it's an execution. For all four of us. Our families in the north would be sent to camps. God, please help us. I don't consider myself religious, but I prayed. The next morning, I sat in the conference room, interpreting without hearing a single word. I watched the clock. 10, 11. Lunch was at noon. 1 more hour. My husband sat across the table. Our eyes met. He was just as wound up. Noon arrived. "Excuse me, I need to use the restroom." I stood. The security agent's eyes sharpened, but he said nothing. The bathroom was at the end of the corridor. I went in, waited 3 minutes, came out. Then I walked to the stairs. The elevator was too risky. My legs shook with every step down. "You can do this." For the children. Ground floor. My husband was waiting in the lobby. The kids? There. Our daughter and son stood just outside the hotel entrance. Now. My husband grabbed my hand and we ran. Outside. We flagged a taxi. "South Korean Consulate," I called out in Russian. The driver nodded. We got in. I looked back. Security agents had appeared at the hotel entrance scanning for us. My husband pressed dollars into the driver's hand. The car accelerated through Vladivostok streets. 10 minutes that felt like they would stop my heart. "Mom there." Our daughter pointed. "A South Korean flag." The consulate. We jumped out and ran, all four of us sprinting for the door. The guard's eyes went wide. "We're from North Korea. We're requesting asylum," my husband shouted in Korean. Behind us, tires screeched. A North Korean embassy vehicle. "Get inside, quickly!" The guard threw the door open. We poured through. It shut behind us. Outside, voices, "Kim Jong-hee, come out, traitor." But we were inside. And inside that building was, for all practical purposes, South Korean soil. I sank to the floor. Our daughter and son were crying. My husband pulled us all close. We made it. We actually made it. A consulate official approached. "Are you all right? You're safe now. They can't come in." "Thank you. Thank you." Those were the only words I had. We were brought to an office. Warm tea arrived. "All four of you defected?" "Yes." "My husband is a diplomat." The official looked at the credentials, then at us. "An entire diplomatic family, this is significant. Please just protect the children." Outside the building, voices continued. More had arrived from the North Korean embassy. "Give back the republic's citizens." Russian police had also arrived. "This is the South Korean consulate. Stand back." The officers held them at the perimeter. That night we slept in the consulate's guest room. For the first time in 20 years, we slept without surveillance, without listening devices, just the four of us. "Mom, are we really okay now?" my daughter asked. "Yes, we're safe. South Korea will protect us." South Korea. She said the words slowly as if learning them for the first time. I looked out the window. Vladivostok's skyline glittered. Beyond it somewhere was the East Sea. And across that sea, South Korea. We'll be there soon. Our real home. A place where you're actually free. My husband put his arm around me. We had survived. Somehow we had survived. But a weight sat heavily in one corner of my heart. My husband's older brother. My own brother. The nieces and nephews who would now pay for what we'd done. "I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry." I said it silently. We had saved ourselves and left them behind. That guilt, I knew, would never entirely leave. The 4 days at the consulate felt both endless and brief. On the third day, an official sat down with us and delivered news. I had been dreading. "Your family's back in North Korea." They're being interrogated. My chest caved. "Who?" "Your husband's older brother's family. And your brother's family. State security has taken them in." I'd known it was coming. Hearing it said aloud was something else entirely. "It's my fault. I dragged them into this." My husband dropped his head and wept. They had grown up together. The nephews were still young. My brother had 3 children, all small. What would happen to them? The nightmares started that night. My family being taken away to camps. "Jong-hee, look what you did to us." My brother's voice. "Brother, I'm sorry," my husband calling out in his sleep. We'd wake drenched in sweat and hold each other in the dark. "Are you okay?" "No. What we did, it's terrible." Our daughter was struggling too. "Mom, did we do something wrong? We left our family behind." She was 22, too young for a weight this heavy. "I'm sorry. But there was no other way. We couldn't bring everyone. Still, what about the grandparents?" She wept. Days later came another shock. Back in North Korea, they had publicly named us. State television had broadcast our faces. Diplomat Kim Seong-ho and interpreter Kim Jong-hee betrayed the republic and fled. We hadn't seen it ourselves, the consulate staff told us. We were enemies of the state now. We can never go back, my husband said quietly. If we go back, it's death, for all of us. We had chosen this. Life, freedom, no return. But the weight of that choice was enormous. Our son had barely spoken, 19 years old, days away from military enlistment, now forever unable to go back. One evening he asked, "Dad, we did the right thing, didn't we?" "Yes, you did. You don't have to give 10 years to the army. But grandfather, your grandfather would want you living free. I know it." A week passed. South Korea's government reached out. "Prepare to depart for Incheon. A chartered flight will come in 2 days." Finally, we were going to South Korea. "Honey, we're really going. Home. Our real home." He took my hand. But the last night was agony. I thought of my parents at rest on that hillside outside Pyongyang. "Mom, Dad, I've been a terrible child. I'm leaving home. I may never come back to your graves." I faced the northern sky through the window and bowed. "Please forgive me." My husband was crying too. His parents were still alive in their 70s. "Father, Mother, your son is going ahead, taking the grandchildren south." It was the only way. He couldn't finish. That last night, the four of us sat together. "Let's make one promise," I said. "What, Mom?" "We never forget the people we left behind. When reunification comes, we go back to find them. And until then, we live well." "Mom!" Our daughter's voice broke. "We owe it to them to show them we lived freely, that it was worth it. And we have to tell the truth about North Korea," my husband added. "The world needs to understand what that place really is. Only then can North Koreans ever be free. We made that vow. We weren't simply running away. We were leaving to tell the truth." The next morning, a South Korean government vehicle took us to the airport. Russian police escorted us in case North Korean agents appeared. At the terminal, I scanned every face anxiously. "Are there North Koreans here?" "No." We checked. The consulate official steadied me. We boarded the plane. Korean Air. A South Korean flag on the tail. "Is that our country's plane?" our daughter asked, eyes wide. "Yes, that's ours now." "South Korea. South Korea." She said it slowly again, tasting it. The moment we lifted off, I wept. Vladivostok fell away below us. In the distance, I could make out the Korean peninsula. Home, and yet somewhere I could never return. Goodbye, Pyongyang. Goodbye, North Korea. I said it silently. When reunification comes, we'll meet again. A flight attendant brought water. Rest comfortably. We'll arrive at Incheon soon. Such a simple kindness. In North Korea, that gentleness was unimaginable. Thank you. The water tasted sweet. I thought maybe this is what freedom tastes like. 2.5 hours later, the pilot announced our descent into Incheon International Airport. My pulse surged. South Korea. The plane broke through the clouds over Seoul at night, a city blazing with light in every direction. "Is that Seoul?" our son asked. "Yes, that's where we're going." May 23, 2023, 11 p.m. The wheels touched down at Incheon. The moment the plane made contact with the ground, something electric moved through my entire body. This is South Korea. We're really here. The door opened. Cold night air came in. But it was free air. I walked down the stairs, one step at a time, legs barely cooperating. The last step. My feet touched South Korean ground. I dropped to my knees. I pressed my hands against the pavement. Cold, and somehow warm. "Mom, Dad, we made it. We found our freedom." I looked up at the sky and wept. Our daughter and son knelt beside me, doing the same. Inside the terminal, National Intelligence Service agents were waiting. "Welcome. You've been through so much." A man in a suit extended his hand. "We're glad you made it to South Korea." Those words. They broke me open all over again. "Thank you. Thank you." We were escorted to a separate processing area. There are identity verification procedures. Please bear with us. There was nothing frightening about it. This wasn't North Korea. No forced confessions. No torture. The screening took several days at a government facility. "You were a diplomat." "Yes, section chief at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs." "And you were an interpreter." "Senior interpreter at the Foreign Affairs Bureau." The examiner looked at both of us. "A full diplomatic family defecting together, this is extraordinary. Please, just protect the children. That's all we ask." After a week, identity confirmed. "You are accepted as citizens of the Republic of Korea." Citizens of the Republic of Korea. I hadn't realized how much those words would mean. As per the South Korean Constitution, North Korean residents are also considered our citizens. "You already belong here." "Really?" Yes, you always have. That day we received our resident registration cards. Kim Jong-hee, Special Metropolitan City of Seoul. I held the card with shaking hands, a small piece of plastic. But that card proved we were free. You can go anywhere now. Get a passport too. A passport. In North Korea, only diplomats had passports. Ordinary citizens couldn't even dream of one. With a passport, we can go anywhere. Anywhere with a visa. The US, Europe, anywhere. That's freedom. My husband breathed the word out. We received settlement support. Funds around 10 million won for a family of 4. Use this for a rental deposit and living expenses. We'll help with job placement as well. Holding that money, my hands trembled. It was more than we'd saved in a lifetime back home. We moved to Seoul. A temporary residence, the government arranged a small apartment in Bongcheon-dong, Gwanak District. 2 floors, much smaller than our 28th floor home in Pyongyang, but infinitely warmer. As I unpacked, I looked out the window at Seoul's skyline, a city drowning in light. Mom, are all those lights on? Our daughter asked. I think so. Power runs 24 hours here. In North Korea, it was something we'd only imagined. The first night, I walked to the convenience store around the corner. Open 24 hours on the sign. I pushed the door open. Bright lights. Shelves packed floor to ceiling. My mouth fell open. Ramen, chips, drinks, boxed meals, alcohol, cigarettes, ice cream, everything. Can you really just buy all of this? Our son asked. I think so. If you have the money. Cheaper and more abundant than any market I'd ever seen. Cup ramen is 2001. In North Korean money, that's... My brain couldn't finish the calculation. The cashier smiled. Welcome in. Can I help you? Simple words, but so different from North Korean store clerks. Just these, please. 4 cups of ramen. 8,000 won. I handed over 10,000. 2,000 change. Taking the coins, something caught in my throat. Back home, we made the ramen. Hot water, 3-minute wait. When I lifted the lid and the steam rose, I took 1 bite. Just ramen. Tears came anyway. It tasted like freedom. That night, the 4 of us ate ramen and talked. We made the right call, didn't we? We did, honey. Mom, Dad, I love it here, our daughter said. Me too. I want to start over here, our son added. What do we do tomorrow? First adjust. Learn how people speak, how things work. And find work. Can we go to university? You both can. The government helps with that. Our daughter's eyes lit up. I looked out the window at Seoul's night sky. Stars were visible. Beyond those stars somewhere is North Korea. Yes. Do you think we'll ever go back? When reunification comes, we go. Until then, we build our lives here. My husband pulled me close. And just like that, our first day was over. Our first day in South Korea. Frightening and exhilarating in equal measure. We didn't know what lay ahead, but one thing was certain. We were free. And that freedom, I believed with everything I had, would be enough to carry us through whatever came next. A week after arriving in South Korea, I bought my first smartphone, Samsung Galaxy. Even as a diplomat, I'd never had anything like it. The store clerk helped me set it up. Let me install YouTube. You can browse the internet freely. Really? No restrictions? None. You can search anything. Back home, I opened YouTube. With trembling fingers, I typed Kim Il-sung anti-Japanese resistance. I pressed enter. Dozens of videos appeared. I clicked the first one, a documentary. Kim Il-sung's anti-Japanese struggle, truth and myth. 10 minutes later, I was sitting on the floor. It was all lies. All of it. Most of Kim Il-sung's resistance record had been fabricated. The Battle of Pochonbo exaggerated. The secret camp on Baekdu Mountain fiction. 20 years of believing. The phone shook in my hand. I kept searching. North Korea truth. Defector testimony. North Korean human rights. Every click was a new shock. Political prison camp testimonies. Footage of public executions. Starvation statistics. This was the country we lived in. The crying that came up wasn't like ordinary crying. I had been deceived my entire life. I called my husband over. We watched together, both struck silent. What did we spend our lives believing in? A lie. And not just us, every one of North Korea's 20 million people. That night we stayed up until dawn watching videos. We needed to know all of it. The next day brought a different kind of shock. We ordered from Coupang for the first time. Our settlement helper had introduced us to the app. Order tonight, it arrives tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning? Even if we order at midnight? Yes, that's rocket delivery. Impossible, I thought. We tested it. Toothpaste, soap, towels, ramen. 20,001 total. Ordered at 11 p.m. The next morning at 7, the doorbell rang. Coupon delivery. A box sat on the doorstep. It actually came. In Pyongyang, markets were often bare. What little existed required weeks of waiting or bribes. But here, one tap on a screen and it arrived before breakfast. This is freedom. This is what capitalism actually is. The realization landed like something solid. The Seoul subway was another world. Does the Wi-Fi work down here? It did underground. You could watch videos, search anything, right there on the train. Mom, everyone's on their phones. Our daughter couldn't stop marveling. More surprising still, people said whatever they thought. One afternoon at a cafe, college students at the next table were talking freely. I don't know what the government is doing. This policy is a mess. Criticizing the government. In public. I spun around instinctively, checking the room. Nobody even looked up. Honey, are those students going to be okay? I whispered. This isn't North Korea. There's freedom of expression here. True. I knew it. But after 20 years of surveillance, it still felt like watching someone walk a tightrope over a cliff. No one's going to execute them. I murmured, mostly to myself. At a convenience store, I noticed the part-time worker, a young man, maybe 20, using the latest iPhone. In North Korean money, that phone costs around 3 million won. Senior officials in North Korea couldn't access phones like that. But this college kid working a register had one. One evening, my husband said quietly, "The basement apartment in Seoul is more free than the top floor in Pyongyang." We were in a government-subsidized unit in Bongcheon-dong, dark, cramped, nothing like the 28th floor we'd left behind. But he was right. 100 times better. Because here we were free. Adapting was not easy. The language itself was different. Dongmu comrade had to become SSI Mr. or Miss. The formal registers we'd spent our lives using had to be unlearned and replaced. The food was sweeter than anything we were used to. South Korean food is just sweet, isn't it? Our daughter complained. The hardest part was how people looked at us. Our accents gave us away immediately. Are you from North Korea? When someone asked, I tensed. Yes. Some people stared with open curiosity. Others pulled back. Are we strange to them? Sometimes it left a mark. But there were people who helped. A pastor at a nearby church connected us with a translation position. You have years of interpreting experience. Would you consider translation work? Really? Could I actually do that? Your English is strong. Just work on your Korean a bit more. I could see a future beginning to take shape. My husband passed his driver's test. He'd driven in North Korea but had to get a Korean license from scratch. I passed. He was thrilled. I laughed watching him. Now you could drive a taxi if you needed to, and that would be fine. There's nothing shameful about honest work here. Our daughter began preparing for university entrance exams. South Korea had a special admissions track for North Korean defectors. Mom, I want to get into Seoul National University, then work for it. She'd been attending Pyongyang University of Foreign Studies, but her credentials didn't transfer. She was starting over as a high school graduate. That's okay. Age doesn't matter. What matters is learning what you want to learn. Our son took the GED equivalency exam. He was grateful more than once that he hadn't been taken by the military. Dad, I'm so glad I didn't lose 10 years. Those years are yours. No state can take them. He wanted to study computer science. I want to be a programmer. Then go be one. One day I decided to start a YouTube channel. The truth about North Korea needs to be told. I was a diplomat. I was part of the Pyongyang elite. If I speak with that credibility, people will listen. I created the channel The True Face of a Pyongyang Elite. The first video went up. Hello, I'm Kim Jong-hee, a former interpreter at North Korea's Foreign Affairs Bureau. For 20 years, I lived as part of the Pyongyang elite. Today, I want to show you the North Korea no one talks about. My hands were shaking, but I kept going. Views came. Comments poured in. Were you really a diplomat? Tell us about life in Pyongyang. Tell us how you escaped. People wanted to hear. I have to keep going. Someday, people inside North Korea might see these videos too. 3 years later, the channel has 500,000 subscribers. Ad revenue sustains our family. We opened a small office in Gangnam. Honey, I think we've actually made something. We're not done. Real success is reunification. I still think about the people we left in the North. Every day. Mom, Dad, we're doing well. We'll find each other again. When reunification comes, I pray every night. For the grandparents who are gone. For the ones still waiting. Will we see reunification in our lifetime? I don't know. But there's hope. Mom, if there's reunification, can we go to Pyongyang? Our daughter asks. Yes, we'll go together. Visit your grandmother's grave. See the schools I went to. I'd like that. I want to say this clearly: North Korea is a hell. Even the elite are not free. What it means to live as a full human being that exists here in South Korea. I hope with everything I have that North Korea's people will one day know this freedom too. I dream of the day we are one people again. Why must the same nation live this divided? It has been more than 70 years since the Korean War. My parents' generation spent their lives as separated, families who never reunited. Isn't it time to end this? Reunification isn't a distant dream. It's a reality we have to build together. I still make videos to tell the truth about North Korea. Someday people inside that country will be able to watch them. I work toward that day, showing what freedom is worth, showing how happy a person can become when they're finally free. Thank you, South Korea. Thank you, freedom.